our webinar entitled Utilizing UX to Build Better IT Solutions, presented by the Malayan College's Laguna ACM Student Chapter. I am Charminis Rabano, your MC for today's online event. I'm sure we are all excited to listen to today's discussion and learn more about UX. But before we proceed, I would like to mention a few guidelines for this webinar. Next slide. The webinar will be recorded and screenshots will be taken for both social media and documentation purposes. Be at your best behavior by avoiding profanity or unnecessary conversation in the chat box. Please make sure your microphones are muted and only unmute if you wish to speak during our question and answer segment. Without further ado, an invocation will be led by Mr. John Arthur Panty, the Membership Committee Chair of MCL ACM Student Chapter. Arthur?
Everyone, please let us bow our heads. Dear God, thank you for all the blessings that you have given us, for giving us strength to be able to attend this seminar. Thank you for gathering us here to meet and share our knowledge with one another. Please give us the wisdom to make this seminar a success. To our speaker, so that he would be able to share his knowledge to us, to the attendees, so they can listen attentively, and to the facilitator who will be managing this seminar. That is all we ask. Thank you for your eternal love.
Thank you, Arthur. To formally start this afternoon session, may we give the virtual floor to the advisor of Malayan College's Laguna ACM Student Chapter and Dean of the College of Computer and Information Science, Mr. Christian G. Kikuchi. Sir Ian?
Thank you, Charmaine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So a happy Friday afternoon to everyone. Before I start, I would like to make this request. Can you open your camera even for a minute or two? And let's show everyone our beautiful smile. So, well, I just want to see your faces, at least be able to see new faces. Oo, sa ganitong panahon, no, kailangan nakakakita tayo ng reason to smile pa rin, di ba? So, there you go. So, thank you for those who opened their camera. As mentioned, it's refreshing to see happy people, right? Well, this pandemic restricts us to meet new people physically, but of course, with the invention of technology, we can do this thing, no, virtually. So let's settle for this for the meantime. So my task this afternoon is to give the opening remarks uh, and welcome everyone to this pilot offering of our CCIS Technology Seminar Series for this academic year. For everyone's information, the CCIS Tech Series started way back August 2018 when we had a seminar on information security presented by one of the solutions architect from Trend Micro, Trend Labs. And in September of that same year, we were able to conduct the second installment of the tech series. And this time, representatives from Analytics Association of the Philippines talked about data science and analytics. We end the first season of the tech series with a seminar on the introduction to virtual reality and augmented reality as presented by volunteers from the VR Philippines. As we can see, this free and open for all technology seminars was initiated by the college to provide and disseminate information about the current trends, innovations, and critical knowledge and skills that everyone in the IT community should know. And this afternoon, our technology seminar series will kick off its second season with a discussion on one of the important concepts that we need to understand as developers of IT-based solutions. For most of us in this webinar, maybe we have experience creating mini projects as part of your course requirements, but maybe only a small percentage of you have considered and utilized concepts on user experience when you develop your solutions. This webinar will definitely enlighten us all the value and importance of integrating or applying concepts of UX in our solutions. And I am confident that our resource speaker this afternoon, who will be properly introduced later, will be able to influence us all to be an advocate of user experience, not only by words, but by heart and actions. And I hope all of us here in this webinar will also be part of this advocacy. MCL CCIS is now working with a potential partnership with UXPH, a Filipino nonprofit organization that hosts the largest network of design professionals, enthusiasts, and students in the Philippines, working to build a more mature, collaborative, and design-driven community. Our resource speaker will tell us more about the organization later on. Once we finalize the details of the partnership, our initial action will be to form an interest group who will serve for this purpose. So I hope you will find value on this webinar and eventually join this interest group and the community of design-driven IT-based solution developers. Thank you, God bless, and keep safe.
Thank you, Sir Ian. Now, before we go straight into today's discussion, we would like to see a show of hands from everyone in the room. I encourage you to virtually raise hands when I call out your program or course using the raise hand feature here on Zoom. So may I see who among our participants are IT or information technology students? Okay. Okay, there's a lot. You may now lower your hands. How about computer science students? Can we see the hands of computer science students? Okay, thank you. Okay, you may now lower your hands. Are there any information system students here? Okay. Okay, thank you. What about the senior high school ICT students? Can we see our senior high school ICT students? Okay, so I would also like to know if we have participants with programs other than what I have mentioned. If you have programs other than IT, CS, or what I have mentioned, can you also raise hands? BSCPA, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much for participating. To introduce the resource speaker of today's webinar, may we call on Mr. Patrick Mediodia, the treasurer of MCL ACM Student Chapter. Patrick?
Oh,
Good afternoon. Our speaker is one of the directors of UX Philippines, also known as UXPH, the largest community of UX students, enthusiasts, and professionals in the Philippines. He is currently pursuing his PhD in human computer interaction at the University of Primorska, HICUP group in Koper, Slovenia. His research area is on computational interaction, user modeling, and music learning. Let us welcome our speaker, Mr. Jordan Aiko Deja.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon sa Philippines and to the others. It's nice to see you. Okay, the floor is mine. Oh dear. Wait, let me share my screen. Share screen. And bam. Okay. So anyway, hi everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming to my presentation. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here and to do an introduction to user experience or to UX. So the title of my presentation is so do you want to be a unicorn? Okay. This is something that, hopefully that you guys will be able to understand in a little while. Thank you, Sir Ian and MCL and MCL ACM Chapter for having me. Sir Ian, mga 1 hour tayo dito. Let's see, hopefully. Anyway, so yeah, a little bit of introduction to about myself. So meron na kayong introduction that you heard earlier. So, but just to give you guys a funny introduction. So if you guys are online right now with your browsers, I'd encourage you to go to google.com and type these keywords. Type nyo, cramming professor meme. Okay? So, yeah. Gawin yan. Okay? So, anyway, kidding aside. So, if you actually go to Google and search using these keywords, you'd see me in the top results. So, like, a few years ago, I think it's been 3 years ago, nung nag-trending siya. So, ito yon. So, parang nagka-cram ako during an international conference presentation. So, ayun lang. Anyway, yun lang. Nothing fun. So anyway, formally speaking, hi, I'm Jordan. I'm Jordan Aiko Deja. Okay, and you can find me online with my identity, JRD and DJ. That's Jordan Deja with no vowels. Okay, so that's my Instagram, my Twitter, my GitHub accounts, and all that. Okay, but anyway, so enough about me. So yeah, as what Sir Ian said earlier, we are in this pandemic, so interaction is actually kind of different and weird. Okay, so yeah, so there's probably 2 types of people right now. Sabi nila, actually, usod ko nga to. This is kind of annoying. Maybe this way. Okay, anyway, so there's probably 2 types of people listening to my lecture right now. There's the one that's medyo weird and excited, and there's the one that medyo chill. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so but here, I'm actually here to give you a talk or an introduction to user experience. Okay, it's a very common term na naririnig nyo. It's a buzzword, as you can say. Some of you guys already have an idea about it. Okay, you probably have an idea about it. Naririnig nyo na siya. So hopefully, after today's presentation, I'm gonna give you a well-rounded definition of HCI and user experience. Okay, so I know some of you guys here have probably the Lenovo or the IBM laptop with the pointing stick. So user experience is something like this. Now people are aware about this. Pero ano bang tawag natin doon? Okay. So in this image, you're going to see, it's, depending on the tone of the conversation, you could call it the track point style pointer, right? Or you can call it the nipple mouse or the clip mouse. Okay. So parang UX, di ba? So parang ano ba to? Ang dami. We have the idea in this mind. So we want to finalize everything. Okay? So, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to give you a thorough introduction of UX, and I'm not going to give you a dictionary definition of UX. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you lots of informations. Okay, and hopefully from these facts, you should be able to tie and stitch together a definition of user experience. Okay, and one of them is this point. humans don't like breaking the patterns, okay? Being able to work on something and finding consistency in it is considered a pattern. Breaking patterns make things actually harder for humans. And what am I trying to say here? When we develop IT solutions, especially if you know how to code, you're gonna be so excited to build a solution. You're gonna be, oh, I want to build something. I've learned this technique. I want to use it. I just learned React. Let's use it. I just learned C#. Let's use it. Okay. And then now you realize that when you build something, is it just that way? Do you just build it and that's it? Okay. So there's now this question of how would the human use it? Okay. And sometimes we need to build a pattern to it. Okay. So another key fact that I'm going to say here is this one. Medyo bastos siya, no? Longer doesn't always mean it's hard. Okay, if there are patterns. Some of you already may have an idea of what is UX, and they're gonna say, mas maganda yata yung UX kapag maikse or mas mabilis yung time that we spend. Okay, and what I'm gonna tell you here is that's not actually always true. It's not always the case. What I'm going to say is not all the time okay ang mahaba. It's not all the time. Sometimes short is better, but sometimes mas maganda rin kung mas mahaba. Here's one example. On the screen, you're going to see these two forms right now. You have the left form that says contact us. Okay, and then on the other right, it also says contact us. But if you're going to see here, ito medyo maiksi siya. It's short, right? Here, medyo mahaba siya. Okay, so you're going to see here is if you're trying to connect what I just said earlier, we have consistency, right? And sometimes something long is not obvious because there's a pattern. So you have a first name and last name, and then this one and this one, both long fields, and then short fields, long fields, and that. Okay. Now, what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say here is, believe it or not, this form is longer. Based on research, it is actually able to get 50% more responses from users than this one. Because, this one is just name, email address, comments. People don't like filling it up. It sounds sketchy. It doesn't build trust. Okay. So, but if you have something here, this is kind of long, right? Pero the idea is it invites people to fill up. So believe it or not, the data is actually trying to say, depending on the scenario, the data is more usable. And that probably builds user experience as well. Okay? But anyway, ang labo ko mag-explain, but in a little while, everything will be clearer. Okay? So, the point of user experience is telling us knowing how your users think is important when we design systems. So in the theme of this presentation, we try to say that when we want to build IT solutions, we want to consider the user experience. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, if you apply UX, not only you build an IT solution, you actually build a more effective, a more usable, a more sustainable IT solution. Okay? So, anyway, binor ko kayo, so let me give you an entertaining resource. Okay, so knowing how your users think is important when we design systems. One of the very first things you need to do is, if you're jumping into UX for the first time, I want you to check out this book. If any one of you is interested in books, I want you to check out the book by Steve Krug. It's called Don't Make Me Think Revisited. Okay, this book is actually about web and mobile usability. Okay, it's a very interesting book, and it's something that I would like you to see. Pero syempre, we're not here to read the book. We're here to watch a video. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys watch this video. This video is it's gonna run for like 4 to 5 minutes. It's gonna be fast. Okay, and meron siyang parang activity inside. So I want you guys to join with me in watching this video. And this video is gonna help you deduce the meaning of user experience. And then later we'll go technical. Okay, so let's watch this.
You may not realize it, but your brain actually processes information in two very distinct ways. Like when you look at this photo, you instantly know she has blonde hair, is visibly angry, and likely has some choice words to yell. Without any effort, you experienced fast thinking. But if you look at the following problem, something different happens. Sure, you immediately know it's a multiplication problem, and you knew you could solve it if you had the energy, but didn't. If you do try, your muscles will tense, your pupils will dilate, and your heart rate will increase. Now, you've experienced slow thinking. These two systems of fast and slow thinking dictate much of our perception and reaction in life. Take these lines for example. It's clear that they're different lengths, but if you measure them, they're actually the exact same length. Even now that you know, System 1 or your fast thinking can't stop seeing the illusion because it acts automatically. A similar effect is seen here. Which figure is the largest? Again, they're all the same size, but the suggestion of perspective and depth causes your System 1 to interpret the picture as three-dimensional, even though it's on a flat two-dimensional surface. It's making quick work of the available information, and so your conscious System 2 or slow thinking must compensate after the fact and choose not to believe your intuition or instinct. Want to see your System 2 in action? I'll show you a string of 4 digits, you read them aloud, then add 1 to each of the original digits. If the card reads 3795, the correct response would be 4806. We'll then go to the next card and you'll do the same, followed by the next card. Ready? Go.
4, 3. Okay. So, sabayan nyo lang yun.
Few people can cope with more than 4 digits, but even harder is add 3. The interesting bit is that though your pupils would have dilated, you often become effectively blind when you fully engage System 2. Did you notice the color of the text change? Or how about the fact that the numbers completely changed when I put them off to the side? Listen to the following puzzle. A bat and a ball cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? Chances are your System 1 intuition was yelling 10 cents, but this appealing System 1 answer we know is wrong. In fact, the correct answer is 5 cents. Even if you worked out the correct answer, you likely thought of 10 cents along the way. System 1 is trying to work out an answer as quickly and seamlessly as possible, which is extremely beneficial in everyday life. If every activity required full mental effort, it would be exhausting. But knowing this allows us to understand that not all of our first impressions are correct. How many animals of each kind did Moses take into the ark? So few people detect what is wrong with this question that it's been dubbed the Moses illusion. In fact, Moses took no animals, Noah did. Again, our brain invests as little resources as necessary so that things run quickly and smoothly. Because Moses is not abnormal in the biblical context, System 1 unconsciously detects an association between Moses and ark and quickly accepts the question. In a similar way, System 1 generates context without you knowing. Reading each of the following may seem fairly simple. A, B, C, Anne approached the bank, and 12, 13, 14. But your brain actually interpreted these ambiguous statements without you ever knowing. You could have read it as A, 13C or 12, B, 14, but your brain created the context unconsciously. Also, you likely imagined a woman with money on her mind walking towards a building with tellers. But if the sentence before this was, they were floating gently down the river, the entire scene would have changed because bank is no longer associated with money. Without an explicit context, System 1 quickly generates one based on previous experience. In this case, you've likely visited more banks than rivers, and so the context is resolved accordingly. This ties into a concept called priming. For example, if I said wash, how would you complete this word fragment? Most would see soap, but had I just shown you the word eat, you'd be more likely to see soup. In this way, both eat and wash prime your thoughts. Though System 2 likes to think that it's in charge and knows what's going on, the truth is that priming effects have even been shown to affect and modify behavior. These arise in System 1, and you have no conscious access to them. If you'd like to learn more about the thinking systems in your brain, check out the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman,
Anyway,
which
so I'll
covers
put
it in great
pause there.
detail.
This video is
I'll put
available in YouTube, so you can check it out more later. Okay, but what this video is trying to tell us is the brain has two systems: the fast system and the fast thinking system, and the slow thinking system. The fast thinking system tries to process everything, so we don't need to overthink everything using the slow thinking system. Okay, because if we always think with the slow thinking system, it gets tiring, it gets exhausting. think of it this way. It's pretty much like you're trying to solve this problem the whole day. You get tired, right? So nakakapagod mag-isip. So that's why we have a fast thinking system in to take care of these little things around us. Now, what is the point of all of this? In trying to do IT solutions, in trying to build your applications, whenever we use something, we always try to deal everything with our fast thinking brain. Okay? So kaya nga, I mean, as sad as it may sound, they say, no, like Filipinos lack reading comprehension, right? Because usually reading is something that's lazy, so they do the fast thinking, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is, ganun din, no, when we develop systems. The goal of UX is, now that everyone is just thinking with their fast thinking, we should make everything easier for the user without confusing them, okay? So, you know, by the look of the system, I should be able to know, where is the payment? Where do I pay? Oh, there's a big button here that says pay. Don't let the user look for the pay button. Because if you make the user look for the pay button, then you're not trying to engage with the fast thinking. You're trying to engage with the slow thinking. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here is that, this is just part of UX. We consider the thinking and we consider the user using the system. Okay? So, eto na tayo. We've been trying to say UX, UI, okay? And what I'm going to tell you here is, one of the most fundamental rules of UX, okay? If you're a UX person, the most common mistake that you're gonna commit is you're going to say UX, UI or UI, UX, okay? So in reality, if you want to be politically correct, you don't use UX and UI in the same sentence. In fact, you don't use them together. What you try to say is, UX is something else, UI is something else. So bakit ganon? Bakit may confusion? Parang ano yan eh, para siyang CS and IT. Diba? Parang we all know magkaiba yung programs ng computer science and IT, pero people sometimes can't find the difference. They all say, lahat naman yan nangahack ng Facebook. Diba? Parang ganon yun eh. Diba? So some people sometimes don't see it at surface level. Anyway, to fully differentiate UX and UI, so there's user experience and UI, this is what you usually say. If you remove the U or the user, what do we have left? And what we have are experiences and interfaces. Okay? An experience is different from an interface. Okay? The best way to explain this is, for example, you guys have probably used Shopee or Lalamove or any other delivery app. Okay? So yeah, when you use this app, you see in your mobile phone, and what you see is an interface, right? Pero, diba, when you buy something from, let's say, Shopee, you download the app, you get a promo code, you register the app, right? You buy something, okay? You buy something, you wait for something to arrive. That something actually arrives at your door and everything. That's an experience, okay? And it's not only constrained on the interface. So kaya magkaiba yung UX and UI. The UX actually tries to encompass something greater than the interface. Most of the time, people get confused kasi ang nakikita nga lang nila yung interface. Di ba? Pero di ba, when you think of it, especially to the people who use Shopee, di ba? Parang kaya ka gumagamit ng Shopee kasi pleasant yung experience. Dumating yung product, there is something that you look forward to. And nung dumating yung product, walang kinalaman doon yung interface. Nangyari yon because the app allows you to experience it. Diba? So may system behind it, diba, na when you order something, there's a seller that makes sure that that item is on stock. Dumating yung item on stock, diba? May delivery person na dinala siya hanggang sa bahay mo. That's an experience. Walang kinalaman na doon yung interface na nasa phone mo. Okay? But anyway, more on that in a little while. So, but basically what we want to say is, magkaiba yung UX and UI, you don't usually combine them in the same sentence. Okay? Now, may naririnig rin kayong UX and HCI, or user experience and computer interaction. Let's look at the first words. The first words are user and human. Okay? And what this is trying to tell us is, we always put the user or the human first. Okay? This is what makes it different. Some people want to become a UI developer or yung tinatawag nilang front-end web developer. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are a UI developer, you are very good at making screens. You're very good at making beautiful screens. Okay? And one of the important lessons I'm going to teach you today is even though you make a very beautiful screen, if I cannot do what I need to do properly in this interface, then it's not a very usable screen. Diba? So parang imagine mo na lang, diba, hinahanap mo yung pay button pero hindi mo makita yung pay button. Or in fact, walang pay button. Diba? Yung mga ganon. Parang some of the things that I need to tell you is, you need to consider the user or the human in this context. Okay? Now, UX is actually very broad. In fact, user experience, I mean, if we properly define user experience, it talks about the experience, the pleasant experience, the emotions we feel when we use something. So UX is trying to tell us, it's very broad. It's actually everywhere. Okay? Right now, the generic term na naririnig nyo, UX designer, actually UX designer, it's so constrained. Okay, but right now people call themselves XD or experience designer. We want to design the entire experience. Okay, for example, so I'm going to tackle something like for example, paano kayo mag-enroll every trimester? Okay, so of course, if we're going to enroll every trimester, you're going to use, tama ba? It's the one MCL system, for example. Okay, so you use the system, you use the software to encode your subjects, to find the schedule and all that, di ba? Pero syempre, during the process, meron tayong may encounter na issues. Kunwari, walang section, wala tayong slots, or meron tayong conflict, di ba? So anong gagawin natin? Magpe-petition tayo ng course, etc., etc. Okay, these are all part of the grand experience. In trying to petition, pupunta ka sa office, magpa-file ka ng form, etc., etc. This is all part of the big experience. Okay? So yung ganitong bagay, someone has to design it. Okay? So, bakit ganito yung process? Bakit may process na in person? Bakit may process na hindi in person? Etc. etc. This is all part of one big experience. And UX is actually now more relevant because you don't just design IT solutions anymore. You now design how humans interact with the systems. And what's more special right now is because of the pandemic, parang lahat ngayon naging digital. So ang tanong ngayon is, yung mga bagay na kailangan natin gawin in person, kailangan na rin natin gawin digital. Paano na yung security? Paano na yung i-verify yung identity? This is all part of the experience. So a person who works in designing this experience we call experience designers. Okay, and then meron tayong interaction designer, user researcher, and visual designer. So if you notice, nilagay ko siya dyan sa gitna because, parang ito lang usually yung nakita ng mga tao before. Paano ba pag UX, ang tatanong agad nila, paano ko ba gagawing maganda yung web page ko? Or maganda na ba yung web page ko? Okay? Actually, that's visual design. Tama yun, walang mali doon. Maganda ba yung web page ko? Diba? Pero if you want to get feedback from a UX person, you don't say maganda ba yung web page ko? What you actually say or what you actually ask is, tama ba yung dapat ma-experience ng user sa web page ko? So we now put that into perspective. Well, like kunwari, sabi ko nga, we want an enrollment system. Okay? Hindi mo ngayon tatanungin yung tao kung maganda ba yung page. Ang tatanungin mo is, madali bang mag-enroll gamit tong system na to? Or, mabilis ba akong makapag-e-enroll gamit tong system na to? So those are the things that you need to consider. We also look at what we call information architecture. In information architecture, this talks about how information is organized. For example, I'm going to ask myself, if I want to study at MCL and I want to look at the curriculum of the BS Computer Science program, where can I find the curriculum, the PDF in the website? Will I be able to find it in the homepage? Or will I be able to find it in the college page? Or will I be able to find it after 17 pages? the way we organize the hierarchy of information, there will be information that's more important that they're at the homepage. There are some information that are also important but cannot be at the homepage. These things, the way we prioritize information and levels, this is what we call information architecture. Okay? And then meron din tayong tinatawag na service design. Service design and product design are actually outside the digital UX. This is now more of how can I run my organization? So from where I come from UX Philippines, we actually use UX techniques para lang din naman kaming org, okay? We use UX techniques to run our organization. We're going to ask ourselves, I have an organization of computer science or IT majors. Anong activities ang naiisip ko in mind? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use UX techniques to come up with these ideas. So we call that service design. How do you apply it sa government? How do you apply it sa meetings? How do you apply it sa theater? We call this service design. And then product design is pretty much the design of the everyday things around us. Anyway, ang boring ko na. So let's move on. Okay? And then kanina, minatch natin yung HCI, UX, and product design. So parang ganito yan eh. The best way to differentiate it is para lang din siyang computer science and IT. Human-computer interaction deals with the research, the development of newer ways to interact with technology. It's actually under computer science, okay? So papalo siya with a little bit of web and mobile, a little bit of graphics, a little bit of software engineering and AI, okay? But then, kapag in-apply na natin siya to a specific domain, like for example, designing a learning system, or designing a transportation booking system, okay? Or designing a music system like Spotify, okay? Kapag ginamit natin yung HCI techniques in designing a product, ang tawag na natin dyan, UX. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is HCI is the theory, the research and development, okay? And when we apply it in a certain domain, then what we call that is UX, okay? So kaya in general, we use the general term UX, okay? So, saan ba ito nag-umpisa? Okay, parang, diba, you're probably now wondering, nag-aaral ako ng computer science, IT, IS, merong computer engineering from the crowd. Saan ba ito nag-umpisa? Okay? Now, on the screen, you're going to see the photo of the ENIAC. I think this was in 1945. This system was being used, I think, after the World War or also before the World War. Okay? And what they're doing is, this machine helps them compute the artillery, the the trajectory of the missiles. Okay? So, tataka kayo, no? Huh? So, this room is a computer. Okay? So, I don't know if you can see it. This thingy, this is your RAM, your memory. These little dots, that's like your bits, ones and zeros yan. Actually, pag nakailaw, 1. Kapag hindi naka-on, 0. Okay? So, yan. And then sending instructions would have to mean moving these wires to somewhere. Okay? So what we could generally say is this is actually a computer. This is one of the earliest computers before. Okay? And this is how people will use them. They will look. So the user level is saang wire yung uhugutin ko at saan ko siya ipapasok. So there's that thingy, ang hirap niyang gamitin, okay? And because of this phenomena of computers, and believe me, these were the first computers, these were the first users of the computers, nahirapan sila. And they said, you know what? I need an input device. And that is why they came up with the first mouse. And actually, they came up with the first mouse as early as 1968. Okay? In fact, I don't know, we can dive deeper into your computer science history. In fact, alam nyo ba na mas nauna pa yung touchscreen kaysa sa mouse? Okay, so touchscreen was by Ivan Sutherland, 1965. Pero this was the 1968 mouse at Xerox PARC. Okay, but anyway, my point was computer systems were very difficult to use. And because computer systems were difficult to use, they need to design input ways so that we can use them easier. But before, computers were for the military, right? And ngayon, the computer became personal. So nag-evolve yan. We were able to find many use cases on how to do it. Kaya mas important yung UX. So believe it or not, meron ng UX before. This mouse was very difficult to use. It's made of wood. Medyo box yung shape niya. So kapag ginamit mo for a long time, masakit. So may ergonomics na. There's the user experience of it. If I use this mouse for 10 hours, masakit sa kamay. There's UX in it. Okay? So basically what happened was, this is how we used the computer. This was how people envisioned it in 1920s, 1930s. This is how it really started. You saw it. And now, ganito na tayo ngayon. How it turned out to be. This famous meme guy. Okay? There is now a laptop. Okay? And there is now, the trackpad. No one imagined it before. Okay? So, in terms of user experience, what we want to learn is the word usability. Okay? Tandaan nyo, iba po ang usable sa useful. Usable, useful. Usable means it's easy to learn, it's easy to use. Let me give you a very concrete example. On your screen, you are going to see an umbrella. Saan ba natin ginagamit ang umbrella? Gumagamit tayo ng payong or umbrella para hindi tayo maarawan or para hindi tayo mabasa ng ulan. On your screen is an umbrella made of concrete cement. Dahil gawa po siya sa konkretong semento, okay, no drop of rain or no beam of light can pass through. That makes it very, very useful. Okay? Pero, since it's made of cement, mahirap siyang buhatin. In fact, mabigat siya. Siguro pwede natin siyang buhatin. We can carry it. But then after you carry it, medyo mangangalay tayo or sasakit yung katawan natin. It's not usable. Okay? So, and ito yung challenge sa atin to all of us computer science and information technology, information system students. Again, we get excited to come up with solutions. Masaya mag-code. I can build this. I can build something. Okay? But the question is it usable? Will people actually use it? So you always consider, okay, will people use this product? And if they do use it, is it easy for them to use? Okay? So to give you more about it, and syempre, para pahinga rin ako, I'm gonna play this 5-minute video. And I think every person who wants to go into UX should see this video. Okay, and this is the video about Norman doors. This is probably gonna run for 5 minutes. Okay, so let's watch this together.
There's this door on the 10th floor of the Vox Media office that I hate so much.
God damn it.
You ever get this door wrong?
Pretty regularly.
Have you seen people misuse it?
All the time, every day. Constantly. I hate this door.
Me too, Kelsey. But here's the thing. As soon as you start looking for confusing doors, they are everywhere.
It's push.
Why?
I feel like Roman Mars would know about this.
This is 99% invisible. And those doors you hate are called Norman doors.
What's a Norman door?
Don Norman wrote the essential book about design. He is the Norman of the Norman door.
All right, and where is this guy?
You must go to San Diego.
Okay.
Hi, Joe.
Hey.
I'm Don Norman. It's hard to describe what I am.
Well, he's been a professor of psychology, professor of cognitive science, professor of computer science, a vice president of advanced technology at Apple. But for our purposes,
I was spending a year in England, and I got so frustrated with my inability to use the light switches and the water taps and the doors even, that I wrote this book.
If I continually get a door wrong, is it my fault?
No. In fact, if you continually get it wrong, it's a good, and if other people continually get it wrong, good sign that it's a really bad door.
a Norman door is one where the design tells you to do the opposite of what you're actually supposed to do, or gives the wrong signal and needs a sign to correct it.
Why does it need an instruction manual? That is, why do you have to have a sign that says push or pull? Why not make it obvious?
It can be obvious if it's designed right.
There are a couple of really simple, basic principles of design, and one of them I'll call discoverability. When I look at something, I should be able to discover what operations I can do.
The principle applies to a whole lot more than doors.
And it's amazing with many of our computer systems today. You look at it, there's no way of knowing what's possible. Should I tap it once or twice or even triple tap? So discoverability, when it's not there, well, you don't know how to use something.
Another is feedback.
And so many times there's no feedback. You have no idea what happened or why it happened.
And these principles form the basis of how designers and engineers work today, commonly known as user or human-centered design.
I decided at one point the word user was a bit degrading. Why not call people people? And it's amazingly simple and amazingly seldom practiced. We call it iterative because it sort of goes around in a circle. We go out and we observe what is happening today. We observe people doing the task. And from that we say, oh, we have some ideas. Here's what we should perhaps propose to do.
Then you prototype your solution and test it.
Quite often these are wrong at first, but each time we go around the circle, we do a better job of making the device until the point we're actually making something that really works.
And this process has spread all over the world.
And it turns out it's improving lives.
From better everyday things like the ones that Don wrote about,
to using the same process to solve huge problems in public health in developing countries.
water,
Sanitation,
farming.
lots more. So what'd be a better human-centered door?
An ideal door is one that as I walk up to it and walk through it, I'm not even aware that I had opened the door and shut it. So if you had a door which had a flat plate, what could you do? Nothing. The only thing you can do is push. So see, you wouldn't need a sign. A flat plate, you push.
This kind of push bar with the piece sticking out on one side works well too, so you can see what side you're supposed to push on.
The vertical bars could go either way. A simple little hand thing, though, sort of indicates pull.
But we still have terrible, terrible doors in the world. So many of them.
There are lots of things in life that are fairly standardized, and therefore, whether I buy this house or not is not a function of whether it has good doors in it. And so, except for safety reasons, doors tend not to be improved.
But the tyranny of bad doors must end.
I think that it's a really shitty design. The fact that they put a pull handle when it's a push. And it should be a flat panel right here. And not a pull handle. That's how I feel about this door. It's very misleading. I agree.
You're right, Becky. You're goddamn right. And if we all thought like you, well, we might just design a better world together.
It won't open because it's a security door.
What the f are you two doing?
Hey, so as you can
Okay,
see,
so
since I started
I'll
making
have
this
the video
video,
there.
they've,
So basically,
since-
just to wrap up this video, what Don Norman or what this video trying to say is that there's bad doors or bad systems, and if people keep getting mistakes in using the system, then it's not the problem of the user. It's actually the problem. Sorry, it doesn't mean there's a problem with the user, but what it means is there's a problem with how it was designed or how it was developed. So this is something that we can consider when we develop our IT solutions. If people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, or if they can't do what they're supposed to do with your system, or if they're struggling, or if they're taking the time to finish something in your system, then there's a very high chance that your system is badly designed. Another approach or another takeaway from this video is that we could see the human-centered design process. In fact, we're going to dive it in a little while. There are so many approaches. There's the design journey and all that. And what it's trying to say is it's an iterative process. That's the very important part that I would like to emphasize, especially in software engineering. I don't know if you guys have already taken software engineering courses, but I think in software engineering, they teach you of the traditional models, let's say the waterfall, right? And then in the waterfall model, you analyze the product, you design the product, you build the product, you test the product, and that's it. Okay. So yeah, that works because that's very structured. There's nothing wrong with that. But what the UX approach or what the human-centered approach is telling us, maybe I can design a product, okay, build something, build a prototype, and then immediately test it with the users. Okay, because sometimes if you don't test it with the users, this journey happens. You think of it and it's not usable. The users are not happy. So what you do is you can first commit mistakes at start. You know, you go around, try different ideas, but as you test and try it out with the people, you get feedback. Diba? You know, it's like what you're doing in real life. You know, you say, tama ba yung ginagawa ko? Am I doing this right? If not, I'll do something else. Okay, am I doing this right? Go on, right? So parang ganun, no? So that's why we have what we call the UX squiggle. You know, at first you commit mistakes, you try to think of something, but sooner or later, as you keep on trying, you get more clarity, you get more focus. So kaya pumapasok ngayon yung UX squiggle in product design. How does this work? So ang nangyayari ngayon is you come up with an idea, you interview your users. Hoy user, ganito ka ba mag-enroll? Or ganito ba nangyayari pag nag-enroll? Di ba? Ganito ka mag-enroll. Sige, gagawa ko ng ganito. Di ba? So you design something and then you test it with them. Kamusta? Madali ba to? Mahirap ba to? Okay, sige, mahirap ba? Liitan natin, lakihan natin. Lipat natin to dito, lipat natin dyan. And, you know, you keep on trying. Okay? So you immediately test with the users. You don't test with them at the end. Okay? Kasi nga, di ba, parang you only learn that it could be improved when you test it with them. And then, you know, when you get their feedback, improve, adjust the system, okay, and then deploy, and it's probably a more usable system. So dun mo pinapasok yung squiggle na at this stage, you're probably confused, but sooner or later, as you get more results, you get more clarity and you get much focused approach. Okay? Sometimes they call this the design thinking approach or the human-centered approach. It consists of 5 stages. Empathize, meaning you try to talk to the user. Diba? How would a user use it? Diba? Sabi nga nila, the best person to design an enrollment system is a student, not the dean or not the faculty. Okay? Because who would use the system? It's the students. So you interview them. But of course, may policies doon. Kaya kailangan natin yung faculty, the dean, and the administration for it. But diba, the best way who would use it are the students, so you empathize with the student. Sabi nga nila, diba, when you're commuting, you don't ask a driver, you ask a commuter. Diba? So that's the empathy. So you try to do it through user research, right? And then after that, you try to define, ganito sila mag-commute. Diba? Paano ba sumakay ng jeep? Paano ba, magbabayad ba muna ako bago sumakay ng jeep? Or sasakay muna ako ng jeep tapos iaabot ko yung bayad ko. Diba? Those are the things when you define the methodology and then you come up with ideas. Nakakapagod mag-abot ng kamay sa jeep. Baka pwede namang magbayad ng digital. Mga ganun. Diba? So you come up with ideas. So there's ideate and then prototype or test. Or some approaches in UX or some references in UX will tell you, we have the double diamond approach. Diba? Where the first approach is all about discovering and defining the problem. And then the second diamond involves developing an idea and improving that idea. And then possibly evolve it in the future. Okay? What I'm actually trying to tell you right now is in UX is actually not the design, the beautiful things, but it's actually a methodology. It's a mindset. This is how you do it. And if you do it this way, you come up with better products. Okay, and then there are steps or techniques in every step. So in doing empathize, you either immerse yourself, you ask questionnaires, interviews, meetings, or observations. Again, so nandito yung mga specific techniques. And I mean, this is just a 1-hour talk or something like that, so we don't have enough time. But what I'm about to say is, you know, in UXPH, we would be very happy to provide you with resources to learn these specific things, okay, in a little while, okay? So, in my talk earlier, bakit unicorn? Okay, yun yung introduction ko, diba? Bakit unicorn? Okay, I wanted to teach you about UX, but what's a unicorn? It's actually connected. In UX, there's this thing we call the UX unicorn. You know, it's a mythical creature. You know, it's someone that's rare to find. Someone who can do visual design, user research, interaction design, all these things in one skills. Or pretty much, it looks something like this. I hope it's visible. This is the domain. So here sa baba, makita nyo yung different stages of UX. The research, the ideation, the design, and the implementation. And these are the different roles Okay? And then yung mga bars, yan yung scope nila. So when, as a computer science ITIS person, you're usually involved here. Nandito ka na eh. You're a front-end or even a back-end developer. You're concerned with the implementation stage. So if you do this, you're not really a UX person. Okay? You become a UX person when you're involved in at least 3 to 4 or 4 stages in the UX process. Kaya if na-notice nyo, my UX engineer, yung UX engineer, kaya niya mag-user research, kaya niya mag-ideate, mag-prototype, and mag-code. Okay? And then a unicorn is someone who can do all of it. Okay? And then may UX designer, and then may tinatawag tayong UX team of one who can do at least that, maybe a little bit of coding, and then may UX researcher. Because tataka kayo, bakit yung UX researcher hindi siya pumapalo sa other methods, pero UX siya? It's because you're dealing with the users. Okay? And then yung UI na sinasabi nila, if you look at it, it's just here. Oh. Nandito lang siya. You just design the interface. You don't even interview the user. You don't understand the user. So, yeah. So if you want to be a UX unicorn, you should have skills that help you in research, in ideation, synthesis, in design, and implementation. Okay? But anyway, more on that in a little while. Okay? So, since pag-usapan na rin natin yung UX unicorn, let's talk about how Google does it. Okay? So maybe if I'll give you a practical explanation, you would be able to see how Google or big companies like Google would differentiate UX. So I think around, I think in 2018, Google did an online thing. Sabi nila, where we want to hire a UX designer, sabi nila. Now, if you want to apply, you need to do this task. Yun yung sabi ni Google. Sabi ni Google, how do you design an interface for a 1,000 floors elevator? Okay? So I think lahat naman tayo nakapasakay na sa elevator. Hindi ko alam kung nakakasakay pa rin kayo ng elevator sa MCL. Okay? So pero diba alam natin na yung elevators doon may buttons. So if there are 5 floors, there are 5 buttons plus something else. So sabi ni Google, how would you design an interface for 1,000 floors? Do we also put 1,000 buttons? Syempre hindi, di ba? So Google gave this challenge to people online. Okay? And syempre, yung mga tao, being IT that they are, IT generalizing CS, IT, and IS, they got excited. They came up with solutions. They came up with something like this. Oh, 1,000, gawa tayo ng numpad. Okay? So, guys, look at this one. Look at these interfaces. Maganda yung interface when you look at it. Diba? Parang, uy, maganda siya, meaning you can read it. Diba? There's an emphasis on up and down and all that. There's a numpad, there's a security button. Diba? They even made it with black gradient. So people started submitting their designs. Some people came up with a numpad. Some people came up with a radical, at gawin nating touchscreen. Touchscreen na, imis na pipindot ka, i-scroll mo siya. So sige, mag-scroll ka dyan ng 1,000 floors. Diba? This is an idea. People started throwing their ideas agad. Okay, they came up with their designs. Okay? Some people wanted to be super technology. Uy, marunong ako gumamit ng RFID, NFC. Oh, wala nang button. Meron na lang tayong card. Yung card, nandun yung floor. Pag tinap mo yung floor, ay yung card, toot, alam niya agad punta ka sa 800 floor. Technology. Ganito tayo kapag IT eh. Pag natuto ka ng technology, excited kang gamitin agad. Okay? May ibang gumamit ng keyboard. Instead of typing the floor, type the name of the person in the floor or voice activated. Diba? These are very incredible ideas. These are very beautiful, aesthetically pleasing ideas. Pag nakita nyo, ang ganda nyo tingnan. UI. Diba? But then, to make it actually UX, there's one important factor na nakakalimutan nila. Google said, lahat nung nagpasa nung interface will not proceed to the next stage. Okay? And then there were actually people who started asking questions. Instead of submitting their designs, they asked questions. So turns out, those who failed, they have what they call presumptive reflex. Ito yung sakit natin, mga people from IT. na-excite tayo, 'di ba? Sasabihin nila, come up with a program that does this. Okay? Iniisip mo agad, gagamit ako ng loops, gagamit ako ng forms, 'di ba? Pero if you want to do the UX approach, you don't think of that yet. You think of, wait, paano siya gagamitin ng user? Login ba muna? Gamit ba phone? Gamit ba monitor? Gamit ba mouse? So, what Google did was, lahat to nagpasa ng designs agad, hindi nila tinanggap. And then, nag-proceed sa next stage of interview where the people who did not submit designs but asked questions. They started asking questions like, wait, 1,000 floors, is it a residential building? Is it a private building? Or is it a corporate building? Yung mga ganon. Can I connect to a different building? Diba? Anong itsura ng building? So, when people started asking questions, yun yung mga tinanggap nila. So, Google said, these people who ask questions, they're fit for the role kasi they were already thinking about the user. Kaya nga UX user experience. Okay? So, that's one example. Okay? Pero, labas tayo saglit sa domain of computer science and IT, and we can see how they use UX here. So I'm gonna show you another 2 to 3 minute video, okay, and sabayan niyo ako. Okay, so this is gonna be like how they use UX techniques, pero nothing with technology involved, but something about policy design, public health, and nutrition. Okay, let's play it.
When I first moved to Cambodia, I lived in a rural village, and it took a little bit of time before people got used to this sort of foreigner wandering around. Initially, I was here to search for a remedy to a problem: anemia, caused by a lack of iron in the blood. It causes dizziness and weakness. It breeds complacency and lethargy. Kids can't concentrate in school. It also causes premature births and problems during pregnancy for women. Nearly 2 out of 3 children are anemic. But this piece of metal has the power to stop it all. My challenge was to find a way to supplement the typical Cambodian diet of fish and rice. I knew that iron pills and other iron treatments weren't really affordable by many people in the villages. In my search, I found that cooking in a cast iron pot can release iron into the food, and that iron is then absorbed in the diet. But I realized that most Cambodian women use aluminum pots because they're cheaper and lighter. And then I got to thinking, what if I could get them to put this chunk of iron in their pot? A simple, cheap, and accessible treatment that even the remote villagers could use. But my simple solution had one big problem. I found that the women were hesitant to add this sort of ugly piece of iron into their pots. That the iron blocks came in very useful, but just not in the pots. And so I realized I had to dig a little bit deeper. I searched for everything. I looked at sayings and beliefs, I looked at rituals, anything that would give me a better understanding of Cambodian culture. And then I landed this, a symbol of good luck. I think I was a little bit shocked when I found out how positive the findings were. In the test areas, anemia has pretty much disappeared altogether, which is absolutely astounding. It was far exceeded what we had expected. We're hoping that this little fish holds the key to treating anemia across the region and beyond. It's definitely one lucky fish.
So let me process the video, key takeaways. So there was a guy, he wanted to solve anemia in Cambodia. So he did this research, okay? He said, they have a diet of fish and rice, okay? And, you can cook with iron, but no one likes to use iron pots kasi they prefer aluminum. So that's the user research. So he came up with an idea, you can actually put an iron block, di ba? I can put an iron block dun sa niluluto ko, di ba? Para they get iron in the food they eat. So, doon na pumasok oh, gagawin natin. But during user testing, walang gustong gumamit nito because the idea is so absurd, di ba? So dito papasok ulit yung UX process of, okay, let me dig deeper. Yun yung sabi niya, di ba? And then turns out, oh, they like the fish. It's a symbol of good luck. So anong ginawa niya? It's the same solution, di ba? It's the same solution. Pinalitan lang yung shape ng iron block, ginawa niyang iron fish, and people started using it more, di ba? So kaya yeah, I have to admit, when you create a user experience, ang weird, diba? Sino maglalagay ng bloke ng bakal sa pagkain nila? It's a weird idea, diba? Pero in their culture, pag nilagyan mo ng fish, it's good luck. So, you modified the interface to create a better experience, diba? So, that's just something to take note. So, what I'm trying to say is, in trying to create a usable product, you need to do UX methods. And some of these are quantitative and qualitative methods. We borrow from sociology, psychology. We do participatory design, eye tracking, or actual interviews, customer feedback. We have A/B testing, and so on. Okay? And take note, we also want to build a usable, sustainable product. People will use it. People will keep using it. Okay? And maybe sometimes because people will keep using it, it will become profitable. Some of you guys are probably working in CSITIS. Okay, probably you're going to work in the industry and you're going to encounter these problems. How can we make people to keep buying? Diba? So you need something profitable, sustainable. Okay? And not to mention, it does not kill jobs. Okay? So how should we do it? Okay? How should be the journey if coming up with this kind of product? The answer, just add UX. Come up with an idea, test it with the user, okay, and then come up with another idea, test it to the user. Even more UX, okay? So, there are other specific UX methods na ituturo namin soon, or if you're interested in learning UX, these are things that you need to learn, okay? One of the funniest questions you always receive would be, I want to transition into UX. Ano bang programming languages ang kailangan kong matutunan? Or ano bang specs ng laptop ang kailangan ko? Sabi ko, no. UX is a methodology. It's a mindset. So you don't need to learn Ruby or Perl. Yeah, sure, you can. But, if you want to do UX, you need to learn these techniques. Look, you can read about journey mapping, service blueprint, personas, business origami, IDA storyboarding, user empathy, and many more. Okay? And there are many resources that we can offer you to help you this. These are all free and easy to learn. Okay? So, here we go. Actually, medyo malapit na ako matapos. Sorry, medyo overtime ako, okay? So, the question now is, will this even work in real life? Parang ang dami yung pinagsasabi, will this even work in real life? I'm gonna show you, the question now is, if it works in real life, Jordan, can you give me an example? Okay? And one example I could show you, I'll actually show you two examples, is this one. The first one is called Draco. Okay, Draco is an animation using kinetic motion. It's a software tool. I don't know if you guys have heard, if anyone here is into MMA or multimedia arts, I don't know if you guys have heard of Autodesk Maya. Okay, or Autodesk actually. Si Autodesk or kahit si Photoshop, di ba may toolbox yan? Bawat isang button dyan, okay, ay product ng UX research. Okay? And the idea there is, they develop the idea, it's HCI, and then dahil maganda yung idea, Autodesk buys it and imports it into the latest version of their app. Okay? Here, the problem is, the user problem is, I want to make animations, and when I make animations, magastos sa papel and repetitive motion. So how can I UX it? And dahil nag-UX ako, what solution can I develop it? Dito papasok yung IT solution, okay? Check this out. Draco is actually a software tool. I'm gonna show you another video. This is like 7 minutes, but I'm just going to show you the first 3 minutes, okay? So check this out. 4 minutes lang pala.
Draco is a sketching tool that brings life to illustration. Our tool is built upon kinetics, providing a rich set of continuous animation effects. Now, let's add some kinetic textures to this illustration. We'll start by emitting steam from the coffee mug. We sketch some example strokes and sketch the emitter. This creates an emitting texture that continuously emits steam from the emitter. We'll add some motion paths to guide the movements of the steam. We'll adjust the speed and emission rate of the steam. Now, we want to add finer granular motion details, so we expand the patch box and directly rotate one of the example strokes. This rotation is applied to all of the objects. Now, we will add an oscillating texture for the bubbles in the glass. Once again, we will start by sketching some example bubbles. Sketching the brush skeleton creates a texture of bubbles. We then sketch an oscillating skeleton, and the texture starts oscillating between the two positions. We can continue sketching the oscillating skeleton until we are satisfied. Again, we want to add more dynamics, so we select the granular motion and translate a bubble by direct manipulation. The motion propagates to all the bubbles. Similarly, we will add another emitting texture with example strokes, an emitter, motion paths, and a texture outline. A texture mask hides the bubbles when behind the shiny region of the glass. This time, we want the moving bubbles to grow in size gradually, so we will sketch a new motion profile to gradually increase the size of the bubbles along the path. Finally, for the candle, we will create another oscillating texture. Here's our resulting animated illustration. We have brought it to life with kinetic textures.
Okay, so i-end ko na lang dun. I can send the link to the video later. So basically, in this video, what we saw here is there were a team of people who wanted to develop solution, an IT solution, and the problem is how can we make it easier for animators? Because if you're an animator, you're gonna create one image, and then you're gonna create another frame, and another frame, and another frame, paulit-ulit. So that's the user problem. Because nakita nila na yung user paulit-ulit, okay, they said, why don't we come up with an IT solution to automate it? Let's use physics, okay? So dito papasok yung mga reason, bakit may calculus yung IT or bakit may physics yung comsci? Well, this is your answer, okay? So some people are probably asking me, Jordan, saan ka natuto mag-UX or saan ka natuto mag-HCI? And what I want to actually say is, the person who developed this software was actually one of our mentors who taught us human-computer interaction and user experience. So, yun lang. Anyway, minor flex lang. But anyway, so this tool was actually a product of a thesis. And then yung nangyari, nakita siya ni Autodesk, and then they applied it into their latest product. Very interestingly, while I was preparing for this talk, I went to visit a friend last night, tapos gumagamit siya ng Autodesk. Tapos, wala lang, nakita ko nandito yung feature na yun sa Autodesk. So, it's very nice. Nagamit siya in a software product. Okay? But anyway, that's probably too technical. Now, let's do some things less technical. This is now a project that I did a few years ago. So, what we did here is we combined marketing and science using brainwaves and AI. And the idea here is may UX pa rin. So, saan papasok dito yung UX? So, just a little bit of background. What we did here was people would make a TV commercial, a TV commercial. People will probably shoot videos, get actors, actresses, and edit the video. They will probably come up with a video that's 2 minutes long, okay? And then yung ipapalabas natin sa TV is probably 30 seconds lang. So what companies would do is, dahil 30 seconds lang pero may 2-minute video, how do we select the best scene? So, ang nangyayari ngayon is they would interview people. They would interview 30 people and they would let them watch this video and then ipoprocess nila yung interview. It's a very tiring process. So, yun yung nangyari. So, they contacted me. Sabi nila, Jordan, can you work with us and use brain waves, maybe there's a way na we can automatically detect ano yung emotions na nararamdaman nila habang nanonood ng video. And then kung ano yung emotions na nararamdaman nila, kung ano yung scenes with the best emotions, yun yung pipiliin natin from 2 minutes into a 30-second video. So that's what we did a few years ago. Okay, and you may have probably seen this commercial. Okay, so this was a project that we did with Newworks Interactive. It's one of the digital agencies. So, Comsci ako, marketing company to, pero tiba nagamit natin yung UX. So this was the setup. Merong couch, merong TV, okay? And then people had to wear this brainwave headgear tool. So what we wanted to do is the same thing. We didn't want to change the way they work. So ang ginawa namin, we invited participants, okay? And then nanood sila ng commercial, okay? And then while watching the commercial, kinolect namin yung data nila. Okay? And then the idea there is while watching the commercial, we wanted to see ano yung scenes that activated certain emotions. You can actually use an algorithm to detect if a certain emotion was triggered while watching a certain video. Okay? So basically, there's a mathematical model. Bakit po may algebra ang IT and ComSci? Here's your answer. Here's your plane of emotions. You can assign valence and arousal values. Okay? And consider, kapag dito ka, positive valence, positive arousal, excited yan. Kapag positive arousal, negative valence, disgusted, nandidiri ka. Yung mga ganyan. So there's actually a way for us to map emotions with some brainwaves values. Okay? So math yan. So kaya may math ng IT. Okay? So what we basically did is people collected their data, pero this time, instead of processing interviews of people, which probably took 2 weeks, we created a software that analyzed the brainwaves and completed the analysis actually. Instead of 2 weeks, it completed it at the end of the day. So, mas mabilis yung process. That's how we UX our way. Okay? So, we analyzed those signals, and then dito papasok yung UX techniques of, we did the personas and analysis. Okay? Actually, ito yung best part of UX. Yung you get to write post-its and write on the wall. This was me presenting to the client, explaining, ito yung analysis namin, ito yung nakita naming findings, dito sila nag-react and all. Okay? So, you probably have seen this. We're not, by the way, I'm not promoting the product. Okay? So the idea was, there were certain scenes, kinompute namin yung valence and arousal values, and then the software would recommend keep or not keep. Okay? So this scene, we kept this scene. Ito, we didn't keep this scene. Ito, we kept this scene. Okay? So you probably gets yun na kung anong product yung papakita ko. Okay? And then, voila. So we were able to come up with certain scenes and what would be the right, sequence of it that induces the targeted emotion ng client. Okay? So, yun. So, ginawa namin, minap namin, ito yung mga positive emotions, ito yung mga negative scenes, ito tanggal, ito alis. Okay? And then, kinonect namin, this is happy, this is disgusting, this is sad, etc., etc. Okay? And then from there, we were able to come up with a 30-second commercial. And then, yun yung tinest namin with the users. Okay? So, I'm not gonna play the video kasi I'm not promoting the product. Diba? So, pero the idea there was basically, we used UX techniques to make the process of building commercials faster. Okay? So, yan. And then we did it for Clear for Men kay Enrique, and we did it also for Clear for Women kay Maha. So, you may have probably seen, sige na nga, ipi-play ko tong commercial na to, 30 seconds lang naman to. Okay? So, makikita nyo na the scenes here are meant to induce certain emotions, which is to excite you and to make you slightly disgusted. So, play lang natin, 30 seconds lang naman.
I like to feel cool and fresh all day. But dirt, sweat, and wax buildup can lead to dandruff. Not cool. That's why I use Clear.
It has Bionutrient 10 that removes dandruff and cooling menthol to keep you fresh.
Lakas maka-fresh all day.
Unstoppable dandruff-free freshness with Clear.
So, yeah. So, that's
I
an
have
example of
nothing
a
to hide.
commercial. So, pretty much, it was a 2-minute video. We selected the best scenes that were collected using our brainwaves tool. Anyway, So there's Maha, I won't show it. So anyway, yay! Tapos na yung talk ko, ang haba ng talk ko, sorry. So I want to show you 3 takeaways from this presentation. First, if we want to do UX to build better IT solutions, humans come first. We always talk to the humans, we always talk to the user. I'm building the system. Who is the user? How do they do it? Okay, now that they're doing it, how can I make it faster or shorter? Or not really shorter, because sometimes longer is nice. How can we make it easier? If the process is long, dahil wala talaga tayong magagawa, red tape yan, how can we make it more consistent para hindi siya nakakapagod? Okay? So first takeaway, humans come first when designing products. Second takeaway, products are usable not if we change the interface, but if we improve the experience it offers. Sabi nga nila, napakadaming chat applications, di ba? Merong Viber, may Telegram, may WhatsApp, may Messenger. Pero why do we use certain products for certain scenarios? Because these products offer a different experience. Okay? Walang makikipag, sabi nga nila kapag Facebook, informal. Diba? If you talk to Sir Ian in Facebook, that's informal. That's not a formal conversation. Okay? Because Facebook is trying to offer a friendly experience, right? Pero, if you want to communicate to Sir Ian, officially, you'd use the email, diba? Because the email offers a formal experience, okay? It's not the interface, it's the experience they offer, okay? And third takeaway, applying UX goes a long way in making a product usable and sustainable. If we apply UX in this product, it becomes usable. If we keep applying UX, we keep iterating and keep improving the product, sooner or later, it improves. That is why most of the apps that you can see, lagi silang may regular software updates. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with A/B testing. Sometimes sa isang person, ganito yung itsura ng Facebook. Sometimes sa ibang person, ganito yung Facebook. Bakit wala ako nito? Bakit ako meron nito? Kasi ang ginagawa ni Facebook, nag-A/B testing sila. That's the UX technique. And then kapag nakita nila na maayos ito hindi, i-roll out nila yan sa lahat. It's a product. Okay? So yeah. So, and then allow me to end my talk. Actually, after I end my talk, I get an introduction about UXPH. So, planes don't flap their wings to fly, but birds don't take off from trees either. Sabi nga nila, we got the inspiration from flying from birds kasi may pakpak. Diba? Pero yung mga birds, they flap their wings. Bakit yung mga airplane, hindi sila nagfa-flap ng wings? Okay? Again, that's the UX part in it. Okay? But the idea is we draw inspiration from our basic human nature. Sabi nga nila, sabi ni Henry Ford, a car is just a faster horse. Okay? A car can run faster than a cheetah, but a car can never climb a tree. So that means, ano ibig sabihin nito? The cheetah, which is a natural animal, it can run fast and it can climb a tree. You build a car because you want to be fast, right? But the idea now there is, but sooner or later, maybe you find a different purpose for a cheetah. Maybe you don't need something fast, maybe something that can climb a tree. So what do? You go back to the cheetah. So you go back to the human nature, okay? So yeah, pretty much that's the idea. That's the end of my presentation. I hope may natutunan kayo. And the title of my talk again is, So Do You Want to Be a Unicorn? And I hope you guys learned something about user experience. And yeah, I think that's the end of my talk. Ano namang gagawin natin? I mean, I can open the floor for questions. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Sir Mr. Deja. That was a very interesting and insightful discussion. So thank you for explaining what UX or experience really means. So to go to the question and answer portion, I would like to call on Mr. Job Lipat, the MCL ACM Student Chapter's Research and Development Committee Chair, to moderate our question and answer portion.
All right. Thanks, Jermaine. Before we start with the Q&A, let's briefly talk about how you could ask questions. So you can ask questions in 2 ways. First, you may raise your hand and use your mic to ask your question. But please wait for me to acknowledge you before opening your mic. We are encouraging you to open your camera while asking the question, but don't worry, it's fine if you don't. So when somebody raise your hand, then wait for us to acknowledge you, then open your mic to ask your question. Then the second way is by sending your question in the message box, after which I will be reading your question. But please make sure that you are sending your message to everyone, because if you sent it to a specific person, we wouldn't be able to see it. So those are the two ways you could ask questions. And without further ado, let's start with the questions and answers. You may now raise your hand or send your questions in chat. Okay, let's wait for the first question to come. All right, while waiting for the first question, let me just repeat the instructions. You have two ways to ask questions. You may either raise your hand, then we will acknowledge you, then you may ask your question, or you may send your question in the message box. So now let's wait for the first question.
I think may isang question. Ay, sorry. Diniem lang siya sa akin. Can I say
Okay.
it?
Yeah, go ahead.
May nag-question, is product management considered part of UX? So sa industry, meron tayong tinatawag na product management. It's actually a greater umbrella kasi usually UX, sometimes people don't want to call it UX, they call it software design or product design. But product management is actually even bigger. Product management also involves the IT in it. Like, how do we deploy it? How do we upload it and put it into production? So yeah, so I hope that answers your question. So there's UX in it as well. And the process of how developers or people prepare these products can also be UX. Yeah.
All right, all right. Thank you, Mr. Deja.
Jordan
That
na lang,
answers.
Jordan.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. And I hope that answers your question to whoever asked that. And siguro let's move on to the next question. And meron na ba tayong questions sa chat, or is anyone raising their hand? Wala pa. It looks like wala pa. So siguro let's wait. Ayan, it looks like EJ is, or Elijah Rafael Garcia is raising their hand. You may open your mic and ask your question, EJ.
Rinig ba ako?
Yes, EJ.
Okay. You know that thank you for the talk. No, it's very insightful. So now that the talk is over, what advice na pwede niyo pong ibigay sa mga aspiring na unicorns now that the talk is over and maybe someone is inspired and want to try have a go at it. So ano yung pwede nating i-advise sa mga tao na yan?
Okay. Thank you, Elijah, for that question. Like what I said, unicorns are mythical creatures. Mahirap silang mahanap. Pero what I could definitely say is there are some people who are inspired, like you probably, who want to become unicorns. So medyo magpa-plug rin ako. So I'm from UXPH, or User Experience Philippines. We're a community, so we're an online community. Think of us as a big org. Okay, there's like 5,000 of us in the Philippines. Lahat yan, students like you and then professionals. May mga nakikita kaming mga tao na, they're aspiring to become unicorns. And I mean, syempre, I'm not a unicorn, so I can't tell you what to do. Pero what I could tell you is, like what I said, the unicorn is involved in the many stages of the UX process. So ang suggest ko, go, like ikaw, kung bata ka pa, hanap ka ng internships. There are a lot of people in UX ngayon, mga kaedad nyo, or even sometimes younger than you, senior high school. Ang ginagawa nila, sobrang bibo nila, nakakainggit actually. Yung every free time na nahanap nila, imbis na magbakasyon sila, they'll go to this company. Kasi this company does UX research. Mag-i-internship sila for 3 weeks. Okay? And then, next bakasyon, they'll go to this company kasi magaling sila mag-front end. Mag-i-internship sila for 3 months. And then, they're gonna go to this company agency, mag-i-internship sila. So, ang katwiran nila or ang bragging rights nila, di ba may joke tayo? Fresh grad pero with 2 years experience. So, yun yung nagagawa nila. Ang sinasabi nila, yeah, fresh grad ako. Pero dahil ang dami ko ng companies na nag-internship ako, may na-accumulate na akong experience. So, I mean, the best way to become a unicorn is to hone your skills. So, I would suggest if you can, I mean, sometimes it's a matter of privilege, no? If you can, get internships. Lalo na ngayon, sobrang accessible yung internships because of this digital COVID pandemic era. Madaling na mag-apply ng internships. So, build a portfolio, build a solid portfolio, and get experience. Ikot ka. Daanan mo yung UX process. Kasi, you can't say you're a unicorn if you don't know how to interview people or do UX research. Or you can't say you're a unicorn if you can't code. So I don't know if that helps you, pero yeah, if you want to become a unicorn, go around. So one, go around. Two, how do you go around? Take as many internships as possible. Ikot ka. Go for foreign internships if gusto mo.
Okay po, thank you po.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. And may I ask Mr. Garcia if that answers your question or kung meron ka mang follow-up questions?
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Right, wala naman. Ayun, now let's move on to the next question. And our next question is from our chat. And it says, question for Mr. Jordan. Do you have any products that is made by different corporations that it's UX you really like?
That UX that I really like. Okay. Recorded ba to? Recorded to, no? Personal opinion to, hindi to hindi to endorsements, well, sabi nga nila, no, if you use an app, that means maganda yung UX, okay? Personally, gusto ko ang UX ng Union Bank. I don't know if you use Union Bank. Okay. I mean, hindi ko alam if na-experience yun na mag-open ng bank account. So kapag bukas ka ng bank account pre-COVID, pupunta ka sa bangko, kailangan may minimum kang 3,000, 5,000, dala mo yung birth certificate, pipila ka, ang haba. And kailangan lang from 9 to 12, right? And then when I downloaded the Union Bank app, it changed my mind. Kasi all you need to do is just download the app, register, okay? You don't even need the starting balance. You already have a bank account. And then verify your identity, take a photo, take a selfie, upload scans of your ID. So, lumabas ba ako ng bangko? Hindi. Nainitan ba ako? Hindi. Naubos ba oras ko? Hindi. Pero, nakapagbukas ako ng bank account. So, nagets mo ba? It's the experience eh. So, maganda yung experience ko dyan. Grab is also working, pero syempre, diba, minsan cancer si Grab. McDonald's, medyo nakaka-stress. Diba? Pero, yeah. So, yeah. And yeah, actually, yeah, thank you for that feedback. Ngayon nga yata yung Union Bank, diba? Mag-load ka lang ng 1,000 if I'm not mistaken. Pwede ka nang padalhan ng card, the physical card. Kasi diba you would ask yourself, nasan yung card ko? Diba? And ito yung na-experience ko, like me, nasa abroad ako ngayon. Union Bank allows me to have a foreign number. Si BPI ayaw niya eh. Medyo makaluma sila. So yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers it. Meron pa bang other apps? In fact, some of the apps are internal. So maraming companies sa Philippines, maraming IT companies ngayon, they have now a UX team. Or in their dev team, meron silang UX person. And marami na silang dine-develop na app. So pretty much any startup idea right now or any app has a UX team. So kapag sikat yan at maraming bumibenta, maganda yung UX niya. Yan. Ano pa ba? Actually, hindi ko alam. But yeah, Union Bank yung top of my mind idea. Kasi hassle yung pera eh. Sorry.
And all right. I hope that answers your question. Mr. Mr. Joaquin Kumar. And grabe pala yung what technology can enable yung parang enable yung technology yung easier experience then grabe pala yun. And ayun, siguro let's move on to the next question. And we have one here in our chat. This one says, what is the difference between front-end developer and web designer? Yeah, na-mention kanina.
Actually, wala naman talagang difference yan. Depende kung paano siya gamitin ng HR, ng hiring company. Thank you for that question. Pero in principle, a front-end developer, so the word is developer, so that means you deal with code. Yan, okay? If you're a developer, you deal with code. So a front-end developer uses HTML, JavaScript, a little bit of React, Vue, JS. Okay. Now, a web designer, pwede siyang hindi mag-code. Pwede siyang nagdodraw lang siya ng mock-ups. Meron tayong mga prototyping tools. Kunwari, Figma, InVision, kung narinig nyo na yan. Yung hindi ka nagko-code. So parang may mga tools na ngayon yung no-code. Okay. Yan na drag and drop na lang. WYSIWYG. Diba? Pero you still build a solid app. So hindi ka nagko-code pero you design the experience. So web designer ka. Okay. And usually, ang nangyayari, if tama yung understanding ko, a web designer creates a design, the front-end developer implements it. Parang gano'n. Okay? Pero again, depende yan sa pagkagamit ng company. Kasi may mga ibang front-end web designer or front-end web developers. Yeah. Depende sa gamit ng HR. Pero yeah.
Alright, ayun. It looks like wala na bang follow-up question si Mr. James Paz. And for our next question, we have here from our chat again. Hello, Sir Jordan. Can you give us tips on how to prepare for IT interviews when applying for an internship job, for an internship or a job?
Okay. So ano bang advice ko? One, diba, nung nag-introduce ako, meron akong GitHub profile. So you need a portfolio. Aside from the CV, the curriculum vitae or resume, parang ganito kasi you need to stand out. A person A can say, I am BSIT, BSCS, BSIS. I can code in Java. CV. Okay. And then now, a person B can say, I am also BSIT, BSCS, BSIS. I have my CV, but wait, here's my GitHub portfolio. Nandito lahat ng products na ginawa ko. So if I'm HR, sinong i-hire ko? Diba, yung may portfolio, kasi kita ko agad na may product siyang nagawa. Diba? So, IT interviews, they would ask you this. Okay? I mean, hindi kasi ako soft skills coach, so I don't know how to prepare, but all I could say is have a portfolio. Okay? And I'll put it on a UX perspective. If you're applying for a UX role in the Philippines, ito yan if you're applying for a UX role in the Philippines, they will ask you the process. How would you design it? They're not actually wala nga silang pake kung maganda yung design mo eh. Ang pake nila is, how did you arrive at this design? They're going to say, I need you to come up with an enrollment system, kunwari. Bakit ito yung design mo ng enrollment system? So, mas gusto nila yung process. So, sabi nila, UX people are good storytellers. Tell me a story of how you came up with this. So, I guess it also applies for general IT jobs. Pero syempre, may iba kasing IT jobs, tatanungin nila kayo ng data structures eh. Legit. Tatanungin nila kayo, implement the binary sorting array of this approach. So be ready for that. So kailangan may konting technical ka pa rin, and then yun nga, tell a story. That's what I could advise. And the portfolio and tell a story.
And so portfolio and telling a story. Meron din GitHub pages, I think, where you can store you can create your own website tapos gawa ka ng portfolio mo. I actually have one, pero hindi ko na share dito. So, so ayun, for our next question, it's from our chat. And the question is UX designing in the Philippines new? And is it becoming a trend in the Philippines market? Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So June Anthony, thank you for that question. Ipa-plug ko yung UXPH, okay? Bakit? Kasi we just released the state of UX in the Philippines, and it's the first ever report describing UX, okay, in the Philippines. To be honest, UX started in the Philippines 2013, 2011. Dati ano pa siya, Usability Philippines. Yung mga senior positions ngayon sa UX, they started out, ang title nila Usability Manager. Okay? So parang first time na record sa industry yung term na UX, 2013, Philippine industry. Okay? So yun. So in this report that we shared, so punta na lang kayo uxph.org, share ko rin mamaya yung link. Pinublish namin yung report. So yung report na to, it shows ano yung mga degrees ng mga taong may UX, ano yung experience nila, ano yung skills, ano yung tools na gamit nila, and etc. So right now, ano rin yung mga industries na malakas sa UX? General hindsight, banking ang malakas ng UX, pero may hospital and legal services na rin. So halos lahat ng industriya ngayon may UX na, slowly. And ang kinukulit namin ngayon na magka-UX, I mean, I think you would all agree, is the government, the LGUs. Parang wala pa ako nakikitang UX role in the Pero syempre, kilala nyo si Vico Soto, di ba? Medyo sikat siya. Actually, si Vico Soto, nag-hire siya ng consultants ng UX nung ginagawa niya yung mga, anong tawag doon? Bike trails sa Pasig. Parang ganun. So yes, it's technically relatively new. Kasi si Don Norman, he started in Apple 1984, 1988. So they're 30 years ahead. Si UX, nito lang. So it's a 10-year industry. Yeah, BIR website yan.
All right. I hope that answers your question. And if meron man kayong follow-up questions, feel free to message it sa Zoom chat. So, all right, next question naman. Okay, medyo personal question kasi I made a paper on this last year. What are the open problems, mga issues, mga ethical issues ganon in the field of UX? Kasi I've read about dark patterns ganon, and it's really interesting.
Dark patterns. Dark patterns are yung ano yan eh. Very good question. Ito yung, diba yung, kunwari, sign in for Netflix. Free 1-month trial. Okay? And then, kapag malapit na mag-end yung 1 month mo, hindi mo makita yung cancel subscription button. Right? So, dark UX yan. Okay? So, tinuturo ko rin yun before eh. So, tawag dyan design patterns. Okay? Yes, there are ethics in UX, lalo na is doing user research, may ethics dyan. Ano bang mga open problems? Ngayon, right now, ang open problems ngayon sa UX is yung tinatawag nilang biased UX. Okay? Like for example, some forms, lalo na tayo, IT tayo, we've developed forms. Lalo na sa Philippines, maraming surname na may enye. Pero there are some forms na hindi sila nag-accept ng enye. Okay? So, tawag nila dito mga non-inclusive forms. Okay? Or may tinatawag silang racist forms. Paano kung ang ipilido ko uy, two letters lang, or li, L-I. Pero yung form na to, yung validation niya, oh, this is not a valid surname. Parang, hindi valid yung uy. Di ba yung mga ganyan? And right now, ang isa pang common open problems in UX, wait, hanapin ko lang yung everyone button, is yung hashtag A11Y. Hashtag A11Y tinipe sa chat, or accessibility. Believe it or not, there are many blind people who use the internet. There are many people who are deaf or colorblind people who use it. Pero the products that they use are not built for them. So, yes, thank you. So yung tanong ngayon is, diba, blind people, ito yan, at the marketing perspective, they're going to say, blind people are only less than 1% of the population. Why would we develop a system for them? Okay, ang sagot ko doon, simple. You said it, blind people, they're people. They use the system. So we need to develop a system for them. So maraming open problems on accessibility, and yan, inclusion, racism, may mga systemic racism dyan. So yung tinatawag natin, sorry for the term, woke propaganda. We need to include this in the way we designed our systems. Kasi before we care about optimization and of course security. Lalo na ngayon, diba, everything is digital, madali na ring manloko ng tao. So how do we, especially yung mga older people, how do we tell them that you can trust the system? Because after all, UX is all about experience. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that helps.
So yeah, ano pala, no, they problem pala yung inclusivity sa UX, and siguro it's brought about yung globalization, and how accessible yung parang yung devices are these days. And that is siguro hindi siya na tackle before. Pero it's good now, I think naman we're making parang progress done. There are studies na siguro that is tackling that.
Yep,
so,
pero hindi pa sila prevalent. That's all I can say. But yes, I definitely agree with you. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think we have time for one more question. And ito, sa chat natin, someone asked, Sir Jordan, if I want to learn more about UX, what books and resources do you recommend to get started?
UX, maraming books, pero I won't promote piracy, siyempre. Diba? So, pero actually, go to, anong tawag sa kanya, UX. So, punta kayo sa UX Collective, type ko dito. Tama ba? UX Collective. UX Collective is like a Medium page. If you're familiar with Medium, actually ito siya, uxdesign.cc. So it's a Medium, it's a blog. Okay? And pagpunta mo doon, kahit anong i-research mo, i-search mo, meron silang article about it. Okay? And so ngayon, ang maganda dito, blogs sila. Ayan, thank you for sharing the link. Blogs sila, and they're very graphic. So if you're the visual learner, yung blogs ito, it's a 4-minute read. Hindi siya yung tatambakan ka ng textbook. So you'll be engaged to read. The next thing that I would recommend, kung medyo may konting spare cash to spare, is IDF, or the Interaction Design Foundation. It's an online link. Si Don Norman doon siya nagtuturo. So it's para siyang Coursera. Pero ang idea dito is meron silang path to UX. Marami silang path to UX. You wanna be designer, researcher, tester. And then ang gagawin mo, mag-enroll ka doon and you can take as many courses as you can. Okay, magbabayad ka lang ng monthly and you get certifications already. Okay, yan. Thank you for posting the link. And then ipopromote ko rin kasi students kayo, so you can use your student ID or student email. Mas mura yung rate, parang $30 lang. Kasi kapag professional ka, parang $300 yata, something like that. Okay, and then the even better approach is, si UXPH, meron siyang promo code. So kapag nag-join ka gamit yung promo code ng UX, you get 3 months free. So parang you're paying 9 months worth of 1 year subscription. Parang gano'n. So, yeah. So yun yung recommend ko. And then, ano pa ba? Books. I have books. Meron kaming Discord channel. So I would also encourage you to join Discord channel kasi ang dami niyong pwedeng tanungin doon and may mga tao na rin nag-share ng resources nila doon. Yeah. Nag-raise ng hand si Sir Ian.
And siguro recommend ko rin since kanina pa siya na-mention, yung books ni Don Norman, I've read yung The Design of Everyday. I think it's really nice. Parang nag-iba yung view ko sa world. Ganun. It's really nice. Recommend ko lang din. Ayan. So, all right.
I would recommend that, yeah.
So, it looks like Sir Ian is raising his hand. Sir Ian?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'll be asking question, but before that, allow me to thank Sir Jordan and congratulate for his great presentation. No? So kahit ako, ang dami ko natutunan ngayon, especially on the concepts on UX. Just to siguro emphasize the point lang, Sir Jordan, I would like to ask your insight. No? Kasi di ba right now, most of the software development phases or model that we have, yung initial stage niya usually is on the planning, and then the design would come either on the second or on the third phase. But considering the importance of UX, no, as presented in your talk, do you think we need to do some adjustment? I mean, we should start considering the UX even on the planning stage. So we just want to know the insight coming from UXPH, and then so that our students who will be taking software engineering or the system analysis and design by this school year will also be guided.
Thank you, Sir Ian. That's a very useful question. Magagamit siya. What I could say is, so clarify ko lang din, no? The waterfall model is a traditional model. It will always work on very established scenarios. Sabi nga nila, if you have good developers, it will always work. Or if you have highly skilled developers, hindi mo kailangan ng UX dyan. Pero for students like you, I would recommend Scrum. Okay, I think you're familiar with Scrum. And so in the planning phase, diba, in software engineering, you do this documentation. You do the UML, the fishbone. Ano ba, tama ba? Fishbone ba yun? Yung 5 M's. Yan. Diba yan? Nalimutan ko na, sorry. Diba? So, valid lahat yan. Pero if we're gonna add the UX, diba yung line ko, just add UX, you come up with a different way to do the planning. So, may tinatawag tayong user stories and job stories. So, instead of spending time doing this, anong tawag yun, activity diagram, the use case sequence diagram, do user stories. And it's still the same. Kapag, actually, nagtuturo rin ako ng SoftEng. Ang ginagawa ko pa nga, pagkatapos mo mag-user stories, you can actually convert it into software documentation if you still want to do agile. If you still want to do waterfall. So it's very doable. It's very doable. Ang mangyayari nga lang would be yung scoping. Kasi diba pag rough waterfall, you're scoping the entire thing. Okay? So ang ginagawa natin sa Scrum, Moscow. I think you guys have heard of Moscow. Type ko dito, Moscow. ano yung must have, should have, could have, and would want to have. Uunahin mo yung must have ng system. Pag alam mo yung must have ng system, yun yung bubuin mo, yun yung itetest mo. Habang binubuo mo yun, nag-umaandar na yung should have, tsaka could have, and then kung kaya pa ng team, yung want to have, the last W. So parang in-split mo lang yung, instead of one big software, dinivide mo siya into sub-chunks, and then do UX pa rin. So nandun pa rin yung planning, nandun pa rin, pero iba lang yung artifacts na gamit. So we're now doing observations, personas, user stories, and lalo na yung journey map. Sobrang useful ng journey map kasi journey map pa lang, kita mo na agad yung flow ng system from the start of the experience until evaluation phase. So yes, it's very doable to answer Sir Ian's question. It's very doable and it's easy to integrate. In other words, Scrum. Use Scrum.
Thank you, Sir Jordan.
Welcome.
So right, ano pala no, it complements yung na-mention mo kanina, ano yan? The UX, ano yan? Scribble and the double diamond, no?
The double diamond.
It parang complements yung ideas ng two concepts nun. Yes. Pero unfortunately, no, that's all the time we have for today's Q&A session. And thank you to the audience for the insightful questions. And we hope that you've learned a thing or two. And thank you so much then, Mr. Jordan, for answering our audience's questions, as well as for the great presentation. Shereen?
Thank you, Job. So I hope all the answers were very helpful to our participants. Before we move on, Sir Jordan, I would like to give you an opportunity to give an introduction about UXPH.
Okay, sige. Okay, I'll do a very quick introduction na lang, just so, actually, it's still in my slides. Wait lang, share lang ako ulit. Sorry. Continue and share. Okay. So, anyway, so this will be very quick para hindi sayang yung oras natin. So, we're from UX Philippines. Okay, we're in Facebook. We have our website. Okay, so why is UX such a big deal? Because everyone is doing it. And right now, since it's relatively new, kahit 5,000 na yung members namin sa group, well, in the group, it doesn't mean that there are 5,000 professionals. We have a low supply of UX professionals. And kaya kami active is because we want to partner and we want to train the next generation of UX. Right now, actually ngayon, nag-struggle kami kasi ang dating ngayon is ang daming seniors, pero walang mid-level and masyadong juniors. Pero ngayon, ang dami na ring juniors, so we want to get more people. Okay? So UXPH is a community, it's a professional organization. Joining UXPH is free. Wala po kaming bayad. Okay? We have monthly activities. Lahat ng activities namin free. We have the Discord, it's free. Meron kaming conference, yun lang yung may bayad. Pero I think this year we're not gonna do a conference, we're just gonna do a mini symposia. So yeah. So last year, during my term, doon namin dinala yung UX Philippines to Cebu and Davao. So we also get volunteers. So pwede ka maging member ng UX Philippines and you're part of the community where you get to interact with everyone and you get to share. Pwede ka rin maging volunteer, which means you're part of the team, just like me. So ito yung perk namin. Sabi namin, pag volunteer ka, you get to travel to Cebu. So yun yung ginawa namin last time. Noong 2019. Parang, uy, tara Cebu kasi gusto ko mag-lechon. Yung mga ganun. And all expenses paid yan. Okay? So, and then in 2020, since COVID pandemic, we had the virtual conference. Okay, so ganun din, but we were able to get a bigger scope and everything. So, we organize events. We organize, actually, lahat naman to events. Pwede siyang conference. Pwede siyang tinatawag namin screen side chat. Para siyang AMA. Na you just get to talk with someone and then, you know, or you have a speaker on a specialized topic like chatbots, conversational design, kasi trending yan ngayon sa UX, okay? Or you know how to sell your creative industry or how to be good at public speaking. May mga ganun din kaming soft skills sa UX. So we organize these events. So meron kaming talks where you just listen and meron kaming workshop where you get to learn. So nung pre-COVID pandemic, meron kaming tinatawag na meetups. So meetups, you know, you actually go there after work or after school. And then yun nga, you get to meet people. We have free food and pizza. Laging pizza and beer yung compliment namin. Tapos yung mga workshop, we provide all the equipment, the material. So pretty much all you just need to do is go, show up and learn. Okay? And then meron na rin kami mga programs on, ito yung mga testimonials, so you can just check it out. Ito yung mga speakers namin before. Okay? So pretty much, so that's UXPH. Go to uxph.org. Napakadaling tandaan, uxph.org. Okay, and then there's a Facebook User Experience Philippines for the Facebook group. And then for the Facebook page, UXPH. Napakadaling hanapin. Okay, so ito yung description namin. I don't need to read that. Okay, so of course, we're a community. So we're all about accessibility, diversity, safety. We're a community, so we don't tolerate harassment. And of course, we have collaboration. We want our goal is to have as many people know UX and apply UX. So kaya kami free, kaya kami open. We have mentors, we're recruiting volunteers. So ang gusto namin is to get more people involved in UX. And then personally, ako advocate ng student programs, and I was telling this with Sir Ian. We were having initial talks before of we want to open a UXPH chapter, parang ganon. So parang ang magiging setup ngayon is you will have an organization, magtatayo kayo ng org, kahit anong gusto nyong ipangalan sa org na yon, and then we will accredit you as a UXPH chapter, and then we'll provide you the support. So maraming, like sinabi ko kanina, maraming skills na kailangan matutunan. So if kailangan nyo ng regular speakers, we will also give you these resources. Meron kami mga freebies and tools. We will also give you this access to these resources. So yeah. Nangyari. Okay, so ito yung programs namin. We have community development, annual conferences. We do industry research, student development, academic development, and professional development. So we cater to everyone. The number one rule is hindi mo kailangan marunong mag-UX. You just have to be willing to learn how to UX. Okay, and then you will find someone who will be there to help you. You will have someone who can mentor you. I mean, it's a community. Hindi ko alam. I mean, if you've been to some forums, you'll see people helping you, talking to you, and give feedback on your work. We have a Discord channel, so please join our Discord channel. Saan yung link? Sali kayo sa Facebook group namin. Nandun yung Discord channel. Okay? And yeah, right now, what I could definitely say in the UXPH network is napakarami kong students na mentor sa UXPH. Leads na sila ngayon. Tanda ko na. Okay. And then some of them are training the next generation of students. So we're offering the same road and avenue as well to you guys. You can join UXPH to grow your career. Marami na kaming natulungan. No? The UX, even though 5,000 yan, the network is very small. Si ganito. Si ganito. Kilala mo si Jordan, ganito. So it's easier to find a job as well. And yun nga, or if you want to be more focused, you want to get those extra stars in your CV, you can also apply as a volunteer where you get to do roles. This beautiful graphic that you can see right now was made by our volunteers. So lahat yan volunteer driven. Okay, so yeah. And yeah, we are connected to these sponsors and partners, Home Credit, One Rent, ABS-CBN. I don't know if pag sinearch nyo ako sa Google, sa YouTube, meron na rin akong, nag-appear na rin kami sa ANC because we have connections in ABS-CBN, Newworks, everything. These are the different companies. And these are also the companies that are also hiring UX interns and UX professionals. So we have a large network, and the network can definitely help you. This is the team right now. We have a very diverse set of teams. So si Aldrich yung managing director, and then there's me, and then there's Janil and the others. So lahat sila either are professionals or students. Actually, hindi to updated. Half of our team are students actually. And then the rest are professionals, So yung mga leads, sila na rin yung nagiging mentor sa inyo. Sila na rin yung mag-i-speak sa mga events, etc., etc. So yeah, if you have more questions, let's talk. Basically, everything you need to know is in uxph.org. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, sir. So that's the link, uxph.org. And also you can check out the links in the chat. And moving on with our program, we would like to award the Certificate of Appreciation to our speaker for today. Let me read the citation. Certificate of Appreciation is given to Jordan Aiko P. Deja in grateful recognition and contribution as a research speaker on a topic utilizing UX to build better IT solutions, held via Zoom meeting, given this 27th day of August 2021. Again, thank you, sir. Would you like to say anything?
Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Feeling ko ang haba ng talk ko, pero it's nice na 89 pa rin tayo. So, ibig sabihin, hindi sila na-bore. So, and marami rin tanong. So, yeah, maraming salamat for this opportunity. And again, our goal is to help the community. So, wag kayong mahihiya. Yun yung tip namin. Ano yung motto ko? Ang batang mahiyain, walang candy. So, don't be afraid to ask for candy. So, keep asking questions. The community will give you candies. So, maraming salamat, Sir Ian. Maraming salamat, MCL ACM Chapter, for this opportunity. And thank you to the audience for staying and listening.
Yes. It's our pleasure, sir. I'm sure hindi sila na bored. Okay, to formally close today's session, let us listen to the words of the President of MCL ACM Student Chapter, Mr. James Michael Paz. James?
Thank you, Charmaine. Narinig ba ako? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you to all attendees and especially to our guest speaker, Sir Jordan Aiko P. Deja, for contributing on our webinar entitled Utilizing UX to Build Better IT Solutions. Now this has come to an end, sad to say, but we must keep the knowledge that we learned today, for I know it will be very useful in becoming a successful IT professional. I hope that someday we will be able to apply what we have learned today in solving complex problems in the real world, and hope that we would recognize the vast importance of UX in the IT industry. I also would like to thank our behind the scenes staff, the publication committee, especially the chair Vivian Erica Hermoso, who made the publication materials including our backdrop and PowerPoint for this event. To our technical team, R&D committee member Elijah Garcia, and membership committee representative Jan Riven Adante, and to our vice chair Carlo P. Palisok. This main event is also a part of the celebration for our third anniversary here in MCL ACM. Our organization, Malayan Colleges Laguna ACM Student Chapter, is known for expanding knowledge and interest of young minds in the field of computing. As our organization continues to grow and expand more activities every year, we would need a strong and young minds just like you. So to all the MCL students out here, we are recruiting aspiring members who have the same passion like we have in the field of computing. So what are you waiting for? You can join us at MCL-ACM21 by signing up to the mentioned link. Our organization has a lot more activities and events to offer. This is only the beginning. So to be updated, you can follow us on our FB page and Twitter account at MCL-ACM. To properly close this session, I would like to encourage everyone to open your camera so we can have a group photo. I would like to call on from our technical team, Elijah Garcia. You may give us the signal.
Okay, buksan niyo po camera.
Elijah?
Yeah. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, James. And to all my fellow MCL students, I encourage you to join our student organization, MCL ACM Student Chapter, and of course, check out UXPH. So everyone, we have come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed our program and learned a lot from our research speaker. Before you leave the session, we would like to ask for your feedback on today's online event. You can access the feedback form through the link provided. The feedback form is required for you to receive a certificate of participation for this webinar, which will be sent through your emails. I repeat, the feedback form is required for you to receive a certificate of participation. Once again, I am Charmaine Eunice Rabano. Have a good day ahead. You may now leave the session after you answer the feedback form. Thank you.
Thank you again. Sir Ian, maraming salamat. Thank you for the rest of the team.
Thank you, Sir Jordan.
Ingat kayo.
Hope to see you
Ingat.
soon.
Sana makauwi na. Sige po. Bye-bye.